Good morning, sixth grade. Today I'm going to go over what is going to be on your lesson 4 quiz. So, in lesson 4, you learned about how the Roman Empire expanded after Augustus became emperor, and a little bit about what society was like now that the empire is growing so much. So, in the beginning of the lesson, you learned about some of the different emperors after Augustus. Um, he was really the most successful of the emperors in the beginning. After his death, there was a lot of emperors. It was very unstable. Emperors were assassinated. And then the last emperor of his line was Nero. So Nero, interesting would be the word I would maybe use for him. He was a little cuckoo and strange. He has wife and his mother killed. There's even talk about a big fire broke out, and he just played his violin as Rome burned. And after he died, he didn't leave behind a successor. So that's when things got a little unstable in Rome because there wasn't anybody in charge. Um, Eventually, though, a leader did emerge and things kind of got back on track. So, what I want you guys to know from this page for your quiz is that um, as Rome was expanding, they gave citizenship to the upper class members of the areas that they took over. So, when Rome would conquer a new land, they would make the upper class members of that area citizens, and this was to make them loyal to the empire. And that was helpful for the Romans because if you had the rich of that area on your side, it made things a little bit more stable. Eventually, Rome did change their citizenship rules, and citizenship was eventually given to anybody who was free in the empire, men and women. But that's what you need to know from page 355. Okay, if we move on from that, so you can see here on the top of page 356, how much the empire is growing. So it's expanding a lot. It's all the way over into a lot of Africa, Egypt, expanding out into Asia, even up into Britain. So next you learned a little bit about Emperor Hadrian. You probably remember him from our cartoon video last week. Um, and you learned a little bit about his wall. He's going to be in another video that we're going to watch this week. Okay, so now that Rome has all this new area, their trade is also going to increase. So, what I want you guys to know from this page is what the Romans are trading. So, the Romans are trading things like cloth, metal, and food, and they're using that to trade for other things that the Romans can't get. So, spices from Asia, animals from Africa, and they're also going to be trading things like jewelry, glass, clothing. So make sure you guys remember that. That is one of your quiz questions. And you can see down here that the Romans are trading all over the place. They're trading all throughout their empire, and then they're even going outside the empire. They made it even as far as into the Asian countries to trade and bring things in. Another thing I want you guys to know about trade is that the Romans did have universal money or currency. So these were coins made out of gold or silver. Um, and the reason why they did this is because if they didn't have money to buy things with, they would have to trade goods. So I'm going to trade you some jewelry for maybe those spices that you have. But now, if they have currency, they can just give you some gold coins. Hey, I want to buy those spices from you. So it helped increase trade. It made trade easier, especially because everybody's using the same kind of money. Um, so, about 200 years after the Roman Empire started, it entered the period of what we call the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace. So, this is going to be a really good time for the empire. Things are stable, the emperors are doing well, they're good rulers, and this is really when we're going to see the Roman Empire grow and flourish. So another thing that's going on during this time is this on page 359. You learned a little bit about what it was like to live in the city. Now, life could be very different for different members. Obviously, the more rich you were, the better your life was going to be. And the poor of the city definitely had a rough life. But some of the things they had that were very popular that they enjoyed were things like gladiator fights and chariot races. And those were ways that the people of Rome could be entertained, especially the poor people. They could go to the Colosseum and watch these fights and watch these races. And it was a way for them to kind of have some fun things to do, even if they were, maybe poor and didn't have the best life. So you need to know that for your quiz, that they would go to these things for entertainment. And it sounds kind of crazy today to think, oh, these people would go watch people fight to the death for fun, but it's kind of like football and, you know, sporting events today. Obviously, our athletes don't fight to the death, but we are watching them, hit each other and sometimes punch each other, depending on what you're watching and that kind of thing. The last thing that I want you guys to know for the quiz is about Roman religion. So I know you guys already know a little bit about the Roman gods and goddesses, and you're reading about it in literature class. But one of the things that I found interesting that's also going to be on your quiz is that the Romans worshipped a lot of different gods and goddesses, mainly because they weren't sure which ones were real and which ones weren't. So they didn't want to offend anybody. So to avoid offending any gods who did exist, they would pray to a wide range of them, just in case they were real and they didn't want to make them mad. So I thought that was pretty interesting, that that's one of the reasons why they had so many different gods and goddesses. So remember, the Romans would allow conquered people, to keep their religions and their faiths. So that's where they get a lot of the different gods and goddesses. They were also influenced a lot by the Greek gods and goddesses. So you'll see a lot of similarities between the Greeks and the Romans. But that is the last thing that you need to know for your quiz on chapter 10, lesson 4. So your quiz is going to be on Friday. I'll also put this into PDF form to make it a little bit easier for you. It is going to be 5 multiple choice questions. So use the PDF, use your book, and you guys should do well. If you have any questions, please email me. See you guys later.